Hey, BassGeek here, and today we're going to be talking about spinnerbaits for spring bass. All right, guys, again, I want to give a big shout out to my buddy Tackle Junkie. Thanks for the shirt, Tackle Junkie. I will be rocking this throughout the year. Really nice shirt, really good quality, really soft. Appreciate it, brother. If you guys don't know about Tackle Junkie, make sure you go out and you check him out and subscribe to his channel. Tell him I sent you over there. I'm sure you all already know about good old TJ81. All right, guys, so as always, I love to give back to you. And just like I told you in the last video, stay tuned because there's going to be 2 mystery tackle box giveaways this week. So, as you all know, I have teamed up with Mystery Tackle Box. They send me a box every month. Why are we doing 2 back-to-back? Well, because I haven't been out on the lake and I don't like to just do unboxings. So we're a little behind, but we're doing 2 of them, and that means you guys are going to get the chance to win 2 of these boxes. Now, as always, make sure you go down into the description. There is a discount code and a link that you can use to subscribe. So what do you get out of a subscription box? Well, the good thing, if you're new to fishing, you're really going to get a lot of new baits, a lot of brand name baits, a lot of custom baits that are going to help you step outside of your comfort zone and your box when you're out on the water. You know, so that you're not always throwing that Texas rig worm or that jig or whatever it is that you like to throw. You can actually learn new techniques and new baits and find, I know Tackle Junkie has found several of some of his favorite soft plastics in these boxes. Now, that being said, let's get to opening this one up and seeing what this is. Now, this is the March box. And as I told you, we're going to talk about some spinnerbaits, and this is a perfect spinnerbait for today. I wish there was just a little bit more wind, but that gold blade is perfect for these overcast skies. And the water here today, we've probably got about 1.5 feet. It's a little darker than what it normally is. So that is the Carl's, and that is a Chartreuse White. As always, you're going to get your Dibble Digest with some good tips on how to use a lot of these baits. Now, this is a trailer. I'm not going to open up the trailers for you guys, but, you know, I don't know. Maybe I should show you how to put one on there. This is what's inside, so this shows you. You always get more than what you pay for with Mystery Tackle Box. Now, this is another great bait. This is a bait that I haven't tried. This is from, I believe, Janko Fishing. This is a line through lipless crankbait, something that would also work very well right now. A little early for a frog, but hey, you know, I mean, if you're fishing ponds and stuff and they're really coming up, if they're already committing to the bed, a frog is a bait that they hate to see come overhead. So if they're already in spawn, which we're not in spawn here, we're early pre-spawn still. But a frog, when they're on the beds, is a great thing to throw. We've got a Savage Gear. It says it's ready to be painted, so I'm guessing this is kind of like their, you know, standard primed up, ready for you to paint any color that you want. This is a 3D minnow diver 75, so it's kind of like a rip bait or a jerk bait. And we've got a real good color in the Impulse, good looking kind of green pumpkin, kind of a natural worm, green pumpkin black flake, one of my favorite. We've got a shaky head from Ketchco, and as always, a cool little sticker. All right, guys, so today we're going to talk about how to throw a spinnerbait for those spring bass. Let's get after it. All right, guys, let's go over the rod, reel, and line that I use to throw these spinner baits. Now, like I said, when it comes to blades, generally I am a willow leaf guy unless we get into a foot of water or less. So that's perfect. Now, if you're around some smallmouth, maybe throw in a white or even a chartreuse blade. But on a cloudy day like today, like I said, we've got about 1.5 feet of water visibility. That gold blade right there is perfect. One of the things that I love to do, and I don't have to do it on this particular bait, is when I have a cloudy day, I like to change my silver blades over to gold, because what you're really doing is you're, you know, just reflecting that gray sky. So you don't get as much flash in that overcast type of day as you would out of, again, that gold blade. Now, rod, reel, and line setup, guys, I like a shorter rod. This is probably one of the only times that I'm going to go to a rod that is less than 6'8". Even on my walking baits, my jerk baits, I still tend to throw a 7 foot. I'm a little taller. I'm out on the boat most of the time, not from the bank. Now, when you're standing on the bank, you've got to remember, if you're throwing a jerk bait or a walking bait, you're standing on the ground. So you're going to have to really pay attention. You're going to want, even if you're, let's say I'm right at 6 foot, you're going to want a 6'8" if you're out there throwing those type of baits. But anyway, back to the point. The reason why I throw a smaller rod is because, as you'll see, I like to throw this around cover. So this is a 6.5 foot rod. Shorter the rod, the more accurate the cast. And man, something just busted right up here. That was a mental note. I'm going to throw this around that laydown. Anyway, so one of the things that I like to do is I like to throw it around cover. Laydowns, blowdowns, brush, grass, that sort of stuff. Now, this particular head right here, it's kind of a do-all head. It's not really, you know, a grass head, which comes to a real fine point. It's not really just a wood head either, but it does have a flat bottom right there. It gets a little wider at the bottom, so it will come over some brush and some laydowns fairly well. Now, the one thing I would probably change to this, as dirty as this water is, and around some of the cover that we're going to be throwing around, I might go to a Colorado blade, but I like to throw tandems. I even like to throw spinner baits that have as many as 4 willow leaf blades on them. And so I will always start out with a tandem willow leaf. And if that doesn't seem to be getting the drawing power, that's when I'll go to a willow leaf and a Colorado as my secondary blade right there. Now, the reel that I like, this is a Lew's. This is actually a Super Duty, so it's a little heavier. It's an LFS, but the reason why I throw a Super Duty is because it's, well, the banks that I fish, a lot of times, this is a 1/2 ounce, and that's one of my go-tos. But one of the things when I think they might be deeper on the laydowns is I'll go to a 3/4 and even an ounce spinnerbait. So I like this Super Duty. It's a little heavier, but I can tweak it in to where I can get the longest cast I need, which again, when I'm throwing around targets, I'm going to want that heavy pulling power to get that bait out of that laydown or that grass. So again, a nice stout reel is going to be key. This is a 6/8 to 1. That's a good all-around speed for me. I can take a 1/2 ounce and I can wake it. I can burn it back to the boat, or I can slow way down with that 3/4 or that 1/2 ounce or even that ounce and really work it down to the depths. So that's a great speed, that 6/8. And generally what I'm going to throw, because I'm throwing a round cover, as low as I'm going to go is going to be 12-pound fluorocarbon. But my go-to is generally going to be 15. Now, you can get away with throwing braid because you're going to be throwing a spinnerbait 90% of the time into the crap. I mean, just the worst crap you can find is where you want to throw a spinnerbait. Now, some of the other places, and we'll talk about this a little more, are going to be like wind-blown points, those sort of areas. And when you throw that bait in those areas, you know, fluorocarbon is probably a must-have depending on the water clarity. Now, guys, I will tell you, most of the time I will not, unless, let's say, I'm fishing a wind-blown bank that doesn't have a lot of cover on it. Once I start throwing into stuff like this, generally I will not start with a trailer hook. Now, if they're short striking or I start missing, I'll throw a trailer hook on. Now, I do almost always fish a trailer on a spinnerbait. My go-to trailer, a lot of times, simply a grub. It's just got a great little action to it, nice and subtle. 90% of the time, I match it up. We may throw on something like this, it's chartreuse and white. We may throw a chartreuse and white grub, a chartreuse grub, depending on the watercolor, if I'm around smallmouth, or we may throw just a straight white if we're in a little clearer water. So now, let's talk about the places and where we're gonna put this. Guys, again, I like the shorter rod because I like to target fish. What I like to do with a spinnerbait is just keep it just up to where I can see those blades flashing at me. So just at that depth level, just to where those blades are just barely flashing, that's when I tend to get my most bites. All right, guys, so another great place, and I wish we had a little more wind than this to show you, but another great place to throw a spinnerbait is a place just like this. These wind-blown points, you know, you can come up on these and you can really fish these, you know, with a spinnerbait. With a spinnerbait, wind is your friend. Now, one other time in post-spawn that I really enjoy fishing a spinnerbait is during the shad spawn. So post-spawn, once the bass have come off the bed, pick you up one of these and find those shad on any bank you can find them on, and you will have a blast. Now for the question I know you guys are all asking, how do you win this mystery tackle box? Simple, just put a hashtag spinnerbait in your comments down below and you'll be entered to win. We will do a drawing 1 week from the day that this comes out. Now I know this video is coming out on a Thursday, so it will probably be next Wednesday's video in case, just like this one, and my lazy butt doesn't get it out until Thursday. So basically 6 to 7 days from now when that video comes out, we'll announce the winner. All that being said, guys, I hope this helps you pick up a spinnerbait, especially if you're one of those guys that are fishing ponds. I'm telling you, a spinnerbait this time of year, especially the smaller, low profile ones, can be phenomenal. All right, so don't forget, questions, comments in the comment section below. Do not forget to hashtag spinnerbait to win the box. Like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe, and you guys rock.